With the body now painted and curing the interior finished, I needed to move on to the chassis. So all of the parts were cut out of the sprues, some of the mold lines were cleaned up. I simply clamped them in some of these crocodile clips, some were glued onto some other sticks, and then primed and painted all of them. With all of the parts now being painted in their main colors, I could move on to detailing them and adding some extra colors here and there, which were simply just easier to do by brush, and the details were small enough that this is just fine and looks perfectly good. The silver pieces have now been done, so I could move on to the black, mainly just the brake discs themselves that needed some additional detail, and then I could move on to painting the discs themselves with some metallic black. After applying the first coat of metallic black, I let it dry and then moved on to applying a second coat, as the orange was still showing through a little bit, and we don't want that, of course. While that was curing, I moved on to the next part, and that was painting the springs in the yellow color. Now, I've seen multiple reference images of these cars. Some have black, some have red, some even silver, but most of them were yellow, and I kind of like that look, so I stuck to that. Some of the other parts, like the main engine pieces, were painted silver first, as you could see during the airbrushing session, and then I moved on to adding a bit of a wash on top of it with Panelline accent color. Left is the new accented piece and right is the standard silver piece, which looks a bit too clean, so with the new accent color on top of it, it just looks a little bit used and a little bit more like an engine block. Once that was all completed, I could move on to a lot of assembly, just simply gluing all of the parts together one by one. With the main part of the assembly now completed, I can move on to adding the final details, and that is in the decals. So I first applied a little bit of decal setting solution just to help the decals stick and conform to the shape a little bit more, and then later on I formed them to the final shape with a decal softening solution and a bit of heat from a hairdryer. Some decals were applied to the calipers as well, and I could then glue the interior and engine bay onto the chassis. And that's it, this part is now completed too. So in the next stage I will probably be moving on to finishing off all the exterior and hopefully the entire build too. Now I'm still debating on which wheels I'm going to be using, the standard wheels from the kit or maybe some 3D printed versions, but I will make a video about that separately if I decide to do so, as it's kind of a fun project and I would like to share it with you guys.